All right, let's just skip the usual pleasantries today, shall we? Welcome to the Explainer. The source material we're digging into today absolutely takes no prisoners, so we're jumping right in. We are talking a hardcore, boots on the ground, masterclass on the internal warfare required for real personal growth. I found this incredibly fascinating because, look, if you want to fundamentally change your life, launch a new business, or honestly, simply become the person you know you're meant to be, you are going to face a very real war. And today, we're going to map out exactly how to fight it. We're going to act as your guides right through this intense, sometimes brutal battlefield of the mind. So, what actually stands between you and your ultimate goal? When we ask ourselves this, our first instinct is almost always to point outwards, right? We blame the economy, or we say we just don't have the time. Maybe it's a demanding boss, or, just plain bad luck. But these source notes strip all of that away to reveal an invisible enemy. The real obstacle isn't outside of you at all. It's this force that paralyzes you with procrastination, fear, and stagnation. It's that all too familiar little voice whispering in your ear to just sleep in, telling you to start the project tomorrow, or to just take it easy for one more day. Okay, let's dive into this. The text gives a very specific name to this enemy, resistance, and it describes it as this internal, faceless, formless, and completely heartless energy that is literally designed to kill your dreams. The source material is fascinatingly clear here. This isn't some external demon or circumstance. It's a natural, highly destructive pulse generated from entirely within your own mind. It's intelligent, it's nasty, and it is completely relentless. The very second you set a new goal, boom, resistance is born. Think of it like a shadow. You literally cannot have a shadow without an object in the sun, right? Well, your goal is the sun, and resistance is just the shadow it naturally casts. There's this one quote from the source that just hits the nail on the head. If you want the gold, it helps to know there is a dragon in the way. I mean, you have to deliver that with some serious authority. There is absolutely no heaven without hell. When you push the universe to grow, the universe pushes back. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't just push back, it actively tests you. It's an uncompromising law of human nature. Extreme suffering and a necessary trial by fire are unavoidable prerequisites for any true success. The universe wants to see if you actually have what it takes to hold on to the change before it solidifies. If you're going into this expecting an easy, paved path to your highest self, well, you kind of already lost the game. Which leads us directly into this brutal but necessary concept, the wall of fire. The source makes it crystal clear. If you want to become someone entirely new, you are going to face pain, period. There are no shortcuts, no clever detours, no 5-minute life hacks to get around it. You cannot bypass the flames. You literally must walk through them. Everything you want, the whole shebang you dream of, is sitting right there on the other side of this pain. And the toll for that growth and freedom is pure agony. You have to face this fire every single day, often feeling completely scared, alone, and uncertain, with absolutely zero guarantees of success. If you fail, the harsh reality is that the sole reason will be because you chose to step out of the fire. So why is this fire so insanely hard to walk through? Well, it basically comes down to what's called a psychological survival bias. Look at the stark contrast between who you are right now and who you desperately want to be. Your current self, it just wants to survive. It wants to live, and it desperately wants to stay cozy and comfortable. But your desired self requires the literal identity death of that old self in order to grow. So the minute you start taking action toward a massive goal, your current self realizes it's being marked for death. And here's the thing, it is zero moral code. It will lie to you, it'll manipulate you, create panic, and try to seduce you with comfort. It'll convince you that, hey, skipping just one morning workout or putting off that difficult email won't really hurt anything, all just to stay alive. It will do whatever it takes to stop you from evolving. All right, so when your current self is kicking and screaming like a toddler, what do? You need a weapon. And guess what? You only get one. It's simply called the work. That's it. It is the absolute only tactical maneuver capable of slaying the dragon of resistance and suffocating your old identity. You don't defeat resistance by trying to negotiate with it. You for sure don't beat it by reading yet another self-help book or watching another motivational explainer. You defeat it by starving it of oxygen through pure, unadulterated execution. Actually doing the work is literally the only language your old self understands. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how it frames action as the literal antidote to that survival bias we just talked about. Action is the cause that creates the effect. When you consistently put in the work, resistance genuinely starts to weaken. But here is the catch, and this is a pretty brilliant insight from the source. The knight must duel the dragon daily. This isn't some one-and-done battle where you conquer it on a Monday and then just coast for the rest of the week. No way. Because action equals truth. Words? Words are essentially meaningless on this battlefield. Your old self is going to try to convince you to stop using very logical-sounding rationalizations, but you have to counter those empty words with the undeniable truth of your actions. Relentless, daily action is the only known cure.
To actually execute this consistently, day in and day out, the source outlines a complete operational restructure of your mind. You literally have to split yourself into two distinct entities. Think of your mind as the general. The general sets the strategy, dictates the action, and holds an uncompromising standard. Your body, on the flip side, is the soldier, and the soldier's one and only job is to comply without a single complaint. Most people fail because they let the soldier run the army. The body wants comfort. It wants to sit on the couch and watch TV, so the mind just gives in and hands over an excuse. But to win this internal war, the general absolutely must run the show, and the body must follow orders no matter how loud it screams. And this brilliantly illustrates a visceral tactic known as action stacking, because your body is inevitably going to rebel. When you tell it to wake up at 5 a.m. and it tries to fight back when it shows its fists, so to speak, you don't negotiate, you pull a knife, meaning you do double the work. If the body pulls a sword and hits you with a massive migraine of excuses, you pull a bazooka. Putting that into real terms, if you don't want to run a single mile today, you immediately force yourself to run 3. If you're dreading making that one cold call, you sit down and make 10. You have to take the general's perspective, completely ignoring the body's emotional state, and ruthlessly punish that resistance with escalating, overwhelming action. So the crucial point is this. Through this entire process, we have to completely rewire how we view pain. It's no longer a deterrent. The text introduces this really profound concept of evolving pain. This is a strong mental or sometimes even physical signal that gets sent precisely when you are taking action toward growth and facing resistance. The universe is actually using this pain as a permanent compass, pointing you in the exact right direction. Pain isn't a red light telling you to stop. It means you're exactly where you need to be. If there's no pain, there's absolutely no growth. Your current self will muster up the absolute most pain for the exact activity that has the biggest potential to evolve you and kill off that old identity. So practically speaking, how do you live with this incredibly demanding compass every single day? Well, you kind of have to bathe in the pain. You must lock eyes with the monster, stop running away, and just end the denial. The big secret revealed here is that if you intentionally expose yourself to this evolving pain day after day after day, you eventually settle into it. Human beings are incredibly adaptable to whatever they are constantly exposed to. You literally begin to take comfort in the discomfort. You actually start to enjoy the process of your own painful growth because you finally begin to recognize it for what it truly is: raw, unfiltered potential just waiting to be shaped. Which brings us to the end of our briefing today, leaving us with a pretty uncompromising choice: pain now, glory later, or delusion now, pain later. That's really what it boils down to. The internal war of resistance is happening inside of you right now, literally at this very second, whether you acknowledge it or not. You can embrace the wall of fire, step firmly into the general's position, and use the work to slay that dragon daily. Or you can let your current self seduce you right back into comfort, only to face the agonizing, inescapable pain of regret years down the line. The choice is entirely yours. The battlefield is waiting. Go do the work.